Welcome to DVC Alumni, where every story inspires the next. The Alumni podcast where you get to hear the inspiring stories and transformation that DVC has had to offer its alumni. And now, on with the episode.
Yeah. And we are live here at DVC Alumni, where every story inspires the next. And I actually am very excited because we have Litzy here. Why don't you go ahead and introduce yourself?
Hello, my name is Litzy Gonzalez. I am a DVC alum, class of 2023. I transferred with my associates in business administration to Cal State Northridge, and that's where I got my business administration with a concentration in marketing degree.
Good.
Yeah.
Well, excellent. This is a good start. So let's talk about, you grew up here in the Bay Area, right? Yeah. Okay. So talk about that. Like, where'd you go to school?
Yeah, I grew up in Concord. I went to Ignacio Valley High School.
I did too, but
high
way before you did, though. So
we're still alum.
Yes.
And I had a good time there. I was always involved in extracurricular, so I think.
Talk about that.
Okay, yeah, for sure. I did sports, so I did tennis and lacrosse, and then I was also in an academy called the Education Academy. Mm-hmm. And basically, I think part of that academy kind of like brought me more into like professionalism and like what's that all about. Especially as a teenager, you kind of just don't know what it is. So it was a great start. That's when I started developing my skills in like presentations, and I kind of got over my fear of like speaking to my like peers. And then eventually I was like, wait, this is nothing too crazy. This is only like 20 people, and I've known them for like almost my whole life. So then that's when I was like, okay, I need to start building up these skills now. And then towards the end of high school, that's when a program called Diamante Scholars was doing outreach to a lot of high schools in the district. And that's something that intrigued me because I didn't know if I wanted to go straight to a 4-year or go to DVC. I knew it was one or the other. I could not just be like, no school. So then that's when I was like, okay, I want to know more about it. And then I signed up. I got an interview, and then I felt very comfortable with the staff, with what they were standing about and things like that, especially as like a first-gen student. Kind of, you're a little bit lost, but then they helped me kind of route me to the right direction because I had an idea what I wanted to major in. But it wasn't solidified. Then after I graduated high school with Diamante, they helped me with signing up for classes, finding out about grants and things like that. So it was very interesting, and it was a great start because then I didn't feel like I was lost. I feel like there was always someone who knew something that could guide me to what I needed.
Yeah. Well, and I think that's really important, especially when you're tossed from, this the high school into the college experience.
Yeah.
And going, because I can imagine had you gone straight to a 4-year, you would have been one of 30,000 students. And so that can be very intimidating.
Yeah.
So what was the thing? I mean, how did you get introduced? Well, actually, let's go back. So talk about, it was the professionalism. A professional academy? Was that it?
It was an academy based on education, meaning training the students if they were to become teachers.
Oh.
So there was, for a bit, I wanted to become a teacher. And then I think I was like, I like teaching, I like education, but I feel like there's something else out for me. But I did learn a lot. Through that program, I became a tutor for Oak Grove Middle School for a year, which was really great because, I did learn a lot, and surprisingly, like the students taught me a lot as well. Mm-hmm. And it was a very fun, opportunity. And I think about the students every once in a while because I didn't get to see them, or I didn't get to hit by them because of COVID. So then I don't know, but I always even before that, I was like, just stay in school, don't like, there's always a way. Don't give up. And I hope that stuck with them. I really do. I don't know anything about any of the students from that class, but it was a great opportunity, and it definitely gave me insight about more about our community.
Well, and I think one of the things is that as you get a chance to kind of like teach that skill of persistence and perseverance to these folks, it kind of helps reinforce it in your kind of your life, you know?
Yeah.
So Diamante, explain what that is a little bit.
So Diamante Scholars is a program here at DVC. They have, well, at the time, I think it was like a cohort of 30 students, but the goal is to reach out during their senior year and then, select students who are going to certain career paths and things like that. So for example, mine, I was already thinking of going into business towards the end of my high school years. So then when I told them that, they're like, okay, great. Like, this is good. And then little did I know they would connect me with business professionals in the marketing field. And that was so great to know. Actually, Peter, he's coming from a marketing background. So that was amazing to know because it's such a big help, especially when you're just kind of stepping into a world where you just kind of don't know. Because it could be business accounting. It could be business administration, business marketing, business econ. There's a lot of different routes, but especially for myself, I think I did benefit a lot from the program just because I would hear real life stories of people's like college stories leading up to their professional careers. And I think that was very inspiring as a college student who needed a lot of motivation to continue. But yeah, it did help a lot. It definitely made me think, okay, I can do this. And, when there's a will, there's a way.
Yeah. Well, and you brought up a really good point. And this is something I was just thinking about is one of the big differences between like a first in your family to go to college versus somebody that, it's like they're following their parents' footsteps. Maybe they're going to their old alma mater is that because, you don't have that connection to the higher education community.
Right.
It's just like having that foot in the door. It's not something where you have to blaze every trail yourself. It's like, and especially somebody like Peter, who definitely is very connected. So it's like the fact that, you got connected in with that. So you got here to DVC. So talk about you. I mean, were you involved in any of the other clubs or anything like that here at DVC?
I wasn't, because I did my 2 first years, it was just fully online.
Oh,
COVID. So
man, that must
fall
have
of 2020. Yes.
Yeah.
But I was already taking a DVC class in the spring of 2020 with Diamante in my cohort. But yeah, we were starting off completely fresh, 2020 fall, and it was completely online. It was a, a part of experience, a shift, because I went from having 7 classes a day, a regular schedule, sports after, and then to just being at home. It kind of confused me for a bit, but everybody was on the same page, so then I was like, it's okay. Like, this is a good learning experience. Why? Because I feel like everything post-COVID just kind of became online. People started organizing meetings online, things like that. So it just kind of eventually became the norm, especially in like career-wise. So then it was a good learning experience. I did definitely miss being in a class.
Yeah.
Because it was a different type of like environment. You can't hide your face in a class. So then, you just know who's sitting next to you, and then I think I didn't develop those social skills until I transferred, even though I did take some in-person classes here at DVC, but I was still very, very shy with my peers. I was scared to reach out. I was scared to ask a question and be like, hey, can you help me? And then I kind of was like limiting myself on that. But then when I transferred, I was like, no one knows me here. No one knows me here, so it's okay. Like, there's no need to feel embarrassed because we're all on the same page, essentially. We all need help.
Well, and one of the things I thought about, because like my oldest kid, she's a school teacher. And so COVID came along and she teaches middle school PE, which, that's a interesting age range, and she has interesting stories about it. But it's like she was teaching PE online, which is, that's its whole thing. But I think one of the things that happened, especially with folks around that time period, is it really challenged a lot of the social skills that you learn as you get older, especially like going to college. Your first year, you get a chance to do this and that and the other thing, and all that was stripped away. And so you had to come in, when you went to Northridge and start that experience and develop those skills that, had it been before, you would have been doing that here at DVC.
Yeah.
So when you got to Northridge, did you do clubs and stuff like that, or you didn't really? Or
I did. I actually joined a sorority.
Oh,
Alpha Pi Sigma.
Okay.
So yes, I did join a Latina-based sorority up in Northridge, and I think because of their pillars, which is two of them being professionalism and education, I think that's where I definitely was like, okay, this is where I belong, because we were all basically already ready and set to dive into our careers after graduation. And, we all come from different educational backgrounds. A lot of my sisters were educational backgrounds, so they were be teachers. And that was great to know, because I would hear stories and learn about them and, their patience that would entail. And I was like, wow, I admire their patience so much, because teaching kindergartners is not an easy job. But it's definitely a lovely experience. I come from a business marketing background, so very, very different, but definitely all of our ideas would kind of be cohesive at the end of the day, and it would work out for our events, planning, things like that. So it was good. And then because of them, I think I became a lot more social than I already was. Then in classes, I would just, be like, everybody, I would notice the behavior between people, and they'll be like, oh, can you help me with my homework sometime later this week? And people would just say yes. There's no fear in asking. The worst you can get is no, but at least you'll get a friend out of it. And I did get a lot of friends from out of my classes. And now I get to connect with them. As professionals, as graduates, we're all going into different fields or different, some are going into agencies, some of them are working independently, and it's great to have those connections, because then we just bounce off ideas.
Well, and that I think it's the sorority got your foot in the door on that. And unfortunately, you got to experience DVC at a moment when there wasn't anything but the education component itself. And so you kind of missed out on that, but you caught up, which I think is really important. I think joining and being part of some sort of society, whether it's a sorority, a fraternity, clubs, things like that, is really important, because it does give you that network. It's things like that to kind of ground you, and you get to carry those people for the rest of your life.
Yeah, for sure. I definitely do think so. Even with my Diamante cohort, I got to connect with them more specifically than my other classes, because I would just see them so regularly during meetings and things like that. But I think definitely the in-person interaction I definitely needed that in order to grow as a more sociable person. Also networking wise, pushing myself out there. I would go to career first by myself. I had no friends my first semester. So then I would just tell myself okay, I'll just go. And then there was other people who were on the same boat, who they were like, oh, it's my first semester too, and I don't know anybody. And I'm like, oh, hi. We just, chat. And you just, I have friends that I've consider really, really best friends, and, from college. And I'm like, wow, who would have thought? It's so crazy to think about. But I definitely encourage others who are still in college to just talk. Get over the fear of talking, because I think you just never know where it's going to lead you.
Yeah. Well, yes. And having the courage, and that's one of the things I definitely got to applaud you on, is having that courage from going from online classes to now you're in Northridge, which is not near here.
No.
So it's not like you can come home to mom and, but it's, you got to find your own way. And that's always tough.
Yeah.
So you go from online classes, you go down to Northridge. What made you choose Northridge?
I chose Northridge because primarily the location and their program. I love the Bay Area. We have really great schools, really good schools, but I feel like I needed a change, especially since being online for a while. And I was kind of I need a change of scenery. I feel like I need to go and and kind of live on by myself for a bit and figure that out and like have that experience to be able to like live by myself, because I feel like, I mean, not a lot of people are able to. So then I was like, I think I need this for my personal growth more so. So then that's why I chose Northridge. And I think I chose a great location. I mean, everything was super close. We're in LA. Literally, there was a lot of things going on. So I could never be bored in LA.
Really? Yeah. Well, and that is the thing. My youngest one, she went to Chapman down in Orange County, and they were 7 miles from Disneyland. And so part of it was, we got her it wasn't terribly expensive at the time. Now it probably is astronomical, but it's like a season pass for Disneyland. And so her and the other girls on the softball team was just like, it's Friday night, we got nothing to do. Let's go to Disneyland. They'd go for a few hours and go see the fireworks. But I mean, you're down there close to LA, so it's kind of like the same thing where you could just go over, go see what's going on, go see a concert, go, because LA's got a lot of music.
There is a lot going on. Yeah, I did go to a handful of concerts my time there. I mean, it was really fun. I got to know more about the city. I had some family there, so I kind of we always visited Los Angeles as a kid, so I always kind of knew my way around. But then living there was a different experience, and it was nice. And surprisingly, there wasn't a lot of people from the Bay Area there.
Yeah,
I was like, wow, really? I only met probably one person who was from the Bay Area, but not East Bay. So then I was like, okay, cool. But yeah, I think it was definitely learning from the people who live there and are from there, and telling me all the good spots to go eat. The best movie theaters. I mean, there's AMCs everywhere there. There's not a lot of AMCs here. It was, those little things. But I definitely had fun. My school had a lot of events, a lot of mixers, a lot of just events where they would just give out dinners. And it'll be mixers. So
wow,
I would go to those because I would be like, oh, okay. After class, I'm like, oh, I'm hungry. They're giving out free dinner bowls. Okay, let's go. And my school was very lively with events. There was always something going on. My school always had live music too.
Oh man,
they
really?
They have local live music. Yeah, it was pretty nice because I would get out of class and just hear live music outside.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, that's exciting.
Yeah.
That's exciting. So you did that. You graduate. Now where are you at?
Now that I graduated. So I graduated spring of 2025. And I moved back home to the Bay Area because I was job searching, but I was like, I think I need to go home. I was getting a little homesick. So I was like, I need to be back. Came back, I was job searching, and eventually I landed an opportunity at a nonprofit called Monument Impact, where I help people open up their businesses. And the program is called Emerging Business Program.
Okay. So, wait. Okay. I didn't even know that. I know you worked there, but it's let's talk about. So I'm sorry to interrupt. I'm going, oh my gosh, this sounds so exciting.
Yeah.
So you get in there and so you're helping people open up their business. So talk briefly, just an overview of what Monument Impact is.
Monument Impact is an nonprofit organization based in Concord. We have an array of services that we offer for free. So one of them being the technology classes. So we have technology classes in Spanish and in Farsi. And we have wonderful teachers who teach you every step of the way of. They have 3 levels: beginner, intermediate, and advanced, from how to even open a file to how to make an Excel spreadsheet. And right. So those programs are very, very successful. We have another program for food bank program. So we have a food bank, I believe, twice a week. And then we also have our community engagement side, where we advocate for renters' rights and, for renters who know their rights and as a tenant. And if there's anything that we could help on that side, we have the resources. We also have Monument Moves, which is it's like a mini dance class out in the park, and we offer them, I believe, at 3 parks in the mornings every day.
Which parks?
Meadow Homes Park, Cambridge Park, and I'm sorry, I can't remember the other park. Oh. But those are the 2 popular ones. There's wonderful teachers who, help. Basically, it's a free class. You just go in, dance with everybody, to dance class at your own pace. Of course, you don't have to be a professional, but the motive is to get people moving, right? To have some sort of exercise, and being in a group environment definitely helps, because then you're just not by yourself working out. You're with others, and it's a great community. Everybody pretty much knows each other now. And anyone's welcome to go. And we have that one. And then we have us.
Yes. So let's talk about us. So what's your program?
So we're the Emerging Business Program. We help folks obtain their business licenses.
Oh,
yes.
Okay.
So to the respective cities. So for example, we're based in Concord. We get a lot of folks from Concord, and they want to obtain a business license for gardening. We help you from filling out the paperwork, and then having an understanding of what the paperwork entails of. And then we walk you down through the steps. We show you where the offices are, the respective offices to file for your license and your fictitious business name. And the purpose of that is just so the client can get, familiarized in case, in the future they want to renew their license for the next year. They already know their way around. They already know who to call. But even if that's not the case, that we're always happy to help. Even if a year later comes back, you need help, we're here to help you. You are a client since we work together. So that's essentially what we do. We get an array of businesses. Right now, one of the most popular ones are micro businesses, micro enterprise, home, food business, basically.
Oh, okay.
So you can cook from home and you can sell your food from home. And there's the county now allows a permit for that.
Yeah, I was going to say that's a new thing, because I know years ago when I was involved in micro businesses and helped to launch them, you had to have a commercial kitchen.
Right. And then now there's the MECO license from the county, which is very, very helpful, because a lot of people, either have limitations or they can't have, a regular 9 to 5, but they can cook at home, and that's a good way to have income. That's another way, and it's helped a lot of folks who come in and they're like, I can't work a 9 to 5. This is what I can do. Can you help me obtain a license? And we explain the process to them, and and then at the end of the day, our goal is for them to be licensed, and that's what we helped accomplish so far.
Oh my God.
It's such a fulfilling, because I learn something new every day. I learn people's stories, and I think it's so wonderful that when they come to us, they have a drive to want to open a business, and they have a drive to learn more of what it entails to open a business and to run a business. And we always guide them through another resource like tax services. We have a person where, like, oh, you can go to this person. So even if we can't help you because you're not in a respective area, we would always figure out a resource for you and refer you to somewhere else.
So you folks work really hard at finding a path to yes.
Yes.
Which I happen to believe that it's like, oh, come on, there's got to be a way. No is not a good answer.
Yeah.
So, and it's just like, we may not be able to do it this way, but we can, here's an opportunity. So.
Right. So that's what we tell our participants, our clients. And, we always figure out a way for them to, leave with some information. Because I know what it's like to just kind of be lost, right? You just don't know where to start. What's an LLC, and then we explain to them the differences, and if that's something that could potentially be beneficial for their business, and things like that. So, we help people and encourage people to pursue their license. I think it's great because there's a lot of entrepreneurs in Concord. A lot. There's a lot of people.
And the thing is I look at too is you're helping to launch all this economic development into a town, and everyone thinks that the next big thing is going to be, the next Microsoft or whatever it is, and chances are in the city of Concord, it's maybe that, but it's not going to be Microsoft. It's not going to be maybe software, but it might be, a home-based cookie empire or something like that. You never know.
Yeah.
And well, that's exciting. So this is I haven't asked this question in a while on a few of these, but so where do you see yourself in 5 years?
That's a good question. I hope and to see myself in 5 years. Also hoping be of a resource to people opening up their business, of course, but also being more concentrated in the marketing field.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
Yeah.
And then if you had to give yourself some advice, like you're much younger, you're still in high school person advice, what would that piece of advice be?
Take everything seriously, educational wise. Take it, don't breeze by if there's a semester that I might have breezed by a little bit. But just to, be focused, strive to do better each time that you open up Canvas, because literally there's been so many times where I'm just I don't know, I could do better on this assignment, but do I have the energy? No. Figure out a way to find that energy to, make that paper an A. Yeah. I would tell myself to figure it out even more, because I feel like I've always been a figure it out person. I've always been very shy to ask for questions, especially during my time at DVC. So I've always been I'll figure it out. But then I was like, no, I can ask. And then they might reroute me, or it might take me to where I need to go. So I feel like ask more and, concentrate. Do better each time you open an assignment. Do better.
Okay.
That's the goal. Do better.
So if anybody wants to get a hold of you over at Monument Impact, how would they reach you?
Yes. So my email is litzy@monumentimpact.org.
Okay.
Super simple.
Okay.
Yeah. Or you can call our office and then they'll rewrite you.
Okay. And then what I'll do is I will drop all this stuff, how to reach you because I think it's very exciting that this is an amazing resource that I didn't even know about. And now I have to talk to your boss to get him on.
Yes.
So, yes. So you hear that? So, but no, I definitely think we should talk more about the mission of Monument Impact, because it sounds like, it's doing a great deal to help people kind of get beyond just the food bank type stuff.
Yeah.
Because it's great to have a resource like a food bank. And then it's also, if you can do that in addition, then help people to get to where they, are beyond that. So.
Right. Essentially, at Monument Impact, we really want, community members to come together and support each other. You don't have to use our food bank services, but you might want to learn more about technology, right? Things like that. And I emphasize that a lot to our participants too, our other programs, especially the technology program, because if you do all 3 levels, you're going to have an amazing understanding of what you have to do to probably get an invoice, or what to do, how to formalize an invoice for your business, right? Because I come from, my parents are small business owners, so I take care of the invoice situation. So I kind of learned that on my own, but years ago. But I know it could be a little complicated, but that's why I always emphasize if there's other programs, push to learn more. You just never know. You just never know where you're going to learn, and it's going to help you in your business.
Well, great. Well, I look forward to chatting with your boss. That'll be a lot of fun. We might actually, I'll talk to him about it, but maybe we'll do it from your guys' office.
That would be amazing.
That'd be a lot of fun.
We can get
a tour through there too. So great. Well, thank you very much for coming.
Thank you, Charlie.
I appreciate it. And this is exciting. And see, this is what happens when you say yes to stuff, and things like the Diamante scholarship, which thank you, Peter, for getting that stuff. Yeah. Because this is kind of where we're at. And it's like you got a lot of good roads ahead of you. So
yes. Thank you. Thank you.
All right.
Thank you, Diamante.
Thank you for tuning in to DVC Alumni, where every story inspires the next, the podcast for the DVC Alumni Association. You can contact us at alumni@dvc.edu with any comments, and be sure to leave a like and subscribe to our podcast.